Hello, everyone. I am Leyland Simmons, the Director of Dance at the Harlem School of the Arts, and I'm just so happy that you all are joining me. This is our third episode of our HSA at Home Dance Masters series, where I meet with different artists in the field of dance and dance education to talk to them about their journeys, their experiences, their challenges, their ups and downs, the things that they've been working on, the things that they're working on now. And so over the last 2 weeks, we've had some awesome guests. We had the beautiful Aisha Ash, and she was just so awesome, sharing all the things that she's doing with the Swan Dreams project. And we then had Ashley Bowder from New York City Ballet, who also shared, with us her challenges and her experiences, and all of the awesome things she's doing with the Ashley Bowder project. But today we are in for a treat as we have our third guest, who is a former dancer with the New York City Ballet. She is also a former dancer with the Dance Theater of Harlem, where she was a principal ballerina. She is a sought-after dance educator and coach, in demand across the country. And she is also a former teacher with the Harlem School of the Arts. So she's part of our HSA family. So please welcome the amazing Andrea Long-Naidu. Let me bring her in now.
Oh, hold on, Lee.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you? Happy Memorial Day.
Hey. Thank you so much for joining me in our third episode of HSA at Home Dance Series. So yes, trying to pull together artists that I wanted to bring for this, for this series, and I was like, bring in Andrea, always represented resilience, power, and determination, and wisdom. So I had to have you on board.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how are you doing right now with the with the COVID and the social distancing, and where were you when all of this took place?
Well, I'm actually doing pretty good. I mean, I'm blessed, and I'm very I'm at peace. We are in this situation. It's not like I'm only in this situation. We're all in this right now.
Right.
And my family is healthy, so I'm happy. I'm with my husband, and we're quarantined together, and I'm still getting to teach online for Central Penn Youth and yoga, doing a lot of yoga. So I think that's making me like be really at peace at what's happening. But I do miss being in the studio. I do. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of us is just like just this whole shift, like, but we're adjusting, and we have to do. So I want to get down to the beginning. How did you find dance, or how did dance start?
Well, actually, my mother, I grew up in Philadelphia, and my mom saw an ad for Pennsylvania Ballet School. They were looking for kids that were 7 to 12 to start in their young people program. And my mom took me there, and I knew nothing about ballet. I had on like jeans, nothing.
Right.
And so we went down to Pennsylvania Ballet, and Barbara Weisberger, who was the director of Pennsylvania Ballet Company, she was the founder, was at the audition, and a teacher who would always be, in my heart, Lupe Serrano, was the director of the school. She was a principal ballerina with ABT, and they took me.
Wow.
And it was just my mom wanting to do something with me because I was hyperactive. She was like, I got to get this girl into something. So she took me to Pennsylvania Ballet.
Wow.
And that's how it started.
That's awesome. So you trained at Pennsylvania Ballet, and please correct me if I'm wrong, was that the Rock School in Pennsylvania at the time, or is it a different program?
No, Pennsylvania Ballet had, I was with the official Pennsylvania Ballet School, and something happened where Pennsylvania Ballet and the Pennsylvania Ballet School that I was no longer with because I was in New York by that time, they separated, and that's why now it's called the Rock School. But Pennsylvania Ballet, the company, now has its own school.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you trained there, and did you perform with the company? Did you have a chance to perform with the company while you were?
Oh God. Yeah, I was doing Nutcracker since I was 7 years old.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, doing Nutcracker all the time. Yeah.
love it. So then you continued your training and you found your way to New York City. Am I correct? You found your way to the School of American Ballet?
No, when I was 14, my ballet teacher, Barbara Santanato, I had like so many amazing teachers at Pennsylvania Ballet, but Barbara Santanato wanted me to audition for American Ballet Theater summer course.
Okay.
So I was on that route, not the Balanchine route.
Okay.
And then I went to ABT on a scholarship when I was 14.
Ah, so that's okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So I didn't know that. So awesome.
Yeah.
So, so what was that like, leaving home, going away for the first time? You're from Philly. It's a big city, but what was that transition like for you, as a...
It was scary, but the great thing was I was living with one of my teachers from the high school I went to in Philadelphia. I went to a performing arts school, and my drama teacher had an apartment in New York. So when I came to ABT, she had me move in with her, so she took care of me. And she made sure I got on the right subway and everything. But it was scary to be in New York at 14. I know my father was like freaking out. He didn't want me to go.
Yeah.
But I was like, I have to go. I have to go. I want to go. I want to go. So they allowed me to go.
So you were headed on the classical route, headed to ABT. How did you end up at the School of American Ballet? How did that transition happen?
Well, so when I was at American Ballet Theater, one of the teachers there was that was really fantastic teacher was talking to me and was like, look, I don't know if you'll ever end up getting into American Ballet Theater. But he said, I think you're perfect for New York City Ballet.
Mm.
So that was heartbreaking because I always dreamed of the classical ballet, and I was like, wow, And then I came back to Philadelphia, and Ricky White took over Pennsylvania Ballet. And Ricky White was from New York City Ballet. And so he brought a lot of the Balanchine to Pennsylvania Ballet.
Okay.
And he made me an apprentice when I came back.
Wow.
So I started learning all these Balanchine ballets, like Stars and Stripes, Who Cares, all these things. It was the first time I ever got to dance Balanchine's choreography. And for some reason, it just clicked with me.
Wow. So you said you came back to Philadelphia and you became an apprentice with the Pennsylvania Ballet. Talk to me about the responsibility that you had to take on. For those of you who don't know, when you become an apprentice with a company, you're basically in the company learning ballets or performing with the company, and I think you're making like a small stipend. Talk to me about the maturity, and responsibility that you had to take on at about 15, as an apprentice with the top tier.
It was really, I wasn't ready for it. I was way too young. I had school, my schoolwork started suffering. I had to go take company class in the morning, then get on a bus and go to Pennsylvania Ballet to rehearse, and then go back to school and do a class at school, go back to Pennsylvania Ballet to rehearse, and then be at Pennsylvania Ballet all night. So my schoolwork really suffered, and my mom was just like, she's too young. She can't handle this.
Wow.
Yeah, it was hard. It was very hard. I had to grow up really fast, and performing with the older dancers in the company. And here I'm this kid. They're like, "Okay, kid, you're not a kid. Get on with it." I was like doing snowflakes and Waltz of the Flowers at 14 with these company members.
Wow.
So it was a lot of responsibility, and I just wasn't mature enough to handle it.
Yeah. Well,
so after a year, I stepped down from being an apprentice so that I could get mature and grow more and get my grades back up.
Right. Yeah, that's something that, we talk to our students about, about the importance of balancing. And I always tell them, your schoolwork comes first because, you want to make sure that you have your grades intact and your education. That's just so important, and it makes you that well-rounded dancer. You want to have that balance, of your academics, being on point, and also your dancing too. But the academics are so important. So that's important, and I'm glad that you took the time off and you kind of yourself, and then from there, what did you do? What then even came to New York?
Well, I remained a student at Pennsylvania Ballet because Lupe Serrano was such a fantastic teacher. I mean, she was really in my formative years the most important teacher for me. And I had other great teachers, but I stayed with her. And I think around like 15 and a half, I was like, I wanna go to New York. She really didn't want me to go, but I was like, I need to, take my chances and see what can happen. And I wanted to explore that Balanchine side too.
Mm-hmm.
But before I went to SAB, I went to BTH first.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Mitchell and I had known each other since I was 12 years old. And when I was deciding to leave Philadelphia, because, I grew up there and I wanted to spread my wing, and Mr. Mitchell invited me to be like a trainee for BTH when I turned 16. So I went to BTH.
Right.
And didn't work out. And like maybe 2 months later, I auditioned for SAB and got in.
Wow. Look at
Yeah.
Look at that. And so, so you were at SAB for a few years. I don't know if you were there for a few years, but, what was that experience like, working and training and learning the balancing style full time? How was that for you? And what was that? Because I was there, like few African Americans there. I don't know how many were there when you were there, but, I knew that it was like not very many of us. I had to stay focused and do what I had to do.
It was, Pennsylvania Ballet was I grew up there, so it was home to me and they knew me, and when I went to SAB, it was like a whole other world, right? There was probably 2 other Black kids in the program, just 2. And it was difficult, not being able to be with my family, so that being in an all-white school would have made it better if I was with my brothers and my mother. But I didn't have that. I was living with other girls in this school. I was always aware of who I was. So that was never an issue with me. I was very aware. But I'm not going to sit here and say that anyone treated me poorly.
Okay.
They did. It took adjustment to do the Balanchine style of dancing. Yeah, things faster, it's bigger, more expansive dancing in the Balanchine, the speed. That took a while to figure that out, yes. There were certain things that I had to do there that my training I had at home, Lupe, we didn't do that, but I really love that style of dancing. And I still love the classical ballet, I love both. But that was an adjustment in getting speed and that attack. Yeah.
So then you eventually, talk to me about, your contract or your hiring into New York City Ballet. Do you remember that memory of, I don't know if they brought you into a room or, I don't know, what was that story?
Well, School of American Ballet does a workshop every year. It's the final performance of the year. And from there, they would choose who would get into the company. I wasn't supposed to get in.
Really?
I knew, I was not supposed to get in.
Okay.
And that workshop, I had 2 leads. I was doing divertimento number 15 and 14, Choleric. And lo and behold, I got into the company. A lot of people say it was the Choleric that did it, but I also feel that there was a principal dancer in the company who was really supportive of me and was like, there's no reason why she shouldn't be in New York City Ballet. And so I got in. And I remember it was like, we had a performance Monday night, which is gala night for workshop. And that Tuesday morning, I was called into the office with Madame Gleboff. This is way back in the day. Madame Gleboff is not there anymore. She's passed away. And she was like, well, Peter would like you to join New York City Ballet. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be an apprentice. And she's like, no, you're joining the company. So I got in right away.
So you didn't even spend time as an apprentice. You were just, you were, wow, that's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, it was really, it's crazy. Yeah. It was really shocking. It was like, whoa, because like, I was like probably supposed to be shipping out to Miami City Ballet.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So you had a contract offer or apprentice contract for Miami, and whoop, here you are entering New York City Ballet. Wow.
Yeah.
That's really amazing. So throughout your time in New York City Ballet, were there any ballets that you really enjoyed performing? Some that might have been your favorites or dances over others. Were there particular ballets that you could think
of? Oh my God. Loved Serenade, loved Barocco, loved Fortes, square dance. Square dance was so hard, but so much fun to dance. I mean, I pretty much loved all of the Balanchine, and there were parts in Peter Martin's ballet that he featured me in, and it was, I really enjoyed what I got to do there. I did. Dancing wise, I did enjoy it.
And what is it about the Balanchine style that you really enjoyed the most?
I think, oh wow. I think there's like a freedom in the Balanchine style. I'm not saying classical ballet is boring. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. But there's a freedom you have. You move bigger, the speed, the attack, the energy, I love that.
Yeah.
Pulling off of the hips, the accenting, the precision of Balanchine work. And he's one of those musical choreographers who's ever lived.
Right. Yeah. That's so true. Nothing like that Balanchine work. It's lovely.
Yeah.
Were there any, while you were there in the company, were there any challenges or major, I don't know, I would just say opposition that you experienced that, after your first few months or your first year, your first season, where you were like, I don't know if I want to stay here and do this. I think I want to go. Was there anything that just made you say, I don't know if I can do this?
There was an incident that happened that actually led to me wanting to leave. And I just felt like I hit the glass ceiling. I wasn't going to go anywhere else. That was it.
Yeah.
And I remember having conversations with Peter Martins and being like, I've never seen a Black female dancer rise above the core in this company. And he's like, that's not true. And I was like, yeah, I just have never seen it.
Right.
And, there was Debbie Austin who was there. She was a big inspiration to me. Myrna was there. Cynthia Lashar was there. These were women that were there before me. And I just felt like I've never seen one break the mold.
Yeah.
And there was an incident that happened with the Nutcracker filming that for me, although it was my dream company, I just could not work there anymore.
Yeah.
And it was just too painful.
Yeah. How did you find the courage to, get past that, or the strength to get past that situation? It sounded like it was pretty, extreme or traumatic. What did you do, like, to bounce back? Get the courage to keep going within your career, because you didn't stop dancing.
No, I did think about quitting. I did. I thought about it, and it was so ironic how it happened. So that whole thing with the Nutcracker filming happened in the snow scene, and I ran into Mr. Mitchell. We literally I lived on 70th, and Mr. Mitchell was like, I think, maybe 86, Riverside or something, and we ran into each other. And I remember we were in it was a coffee shop. I was getting a coffee or something before I was going to class, and we started talking, and I told him what happened. And he was like, you don't want to stop dancing. Now, this man's known me since I was 12. He's like, you don't want to stop dancing. I was like, but I'm just heartbroken, and I don't know what to do. And we started talking about DTH. And I've always loved DTH. It was, I mean, I just have loved that company. It was just so beautiful to see so many beautiful African American people of color just out there dancing. I would go see DTH when I was in New York City Ballet.
Right, right.
That was my way to get my love on. And I was like, you know, I was really like hesitant. I was like, oh my God, do I leave City Ballet to go to DTH? And finally, you know, I was talking to my mother and I was just like, if I don't leave, I'm going to end up quitting.
Mm.
Yeah, I was just so destroyed. And Mr. Mitchell was like, come to me, I'll make you a ballerina.
Mm.
And I made the move.
Wow.
I mean, it was hard. It was a hard decision. I knew I was going to take a pay cut. A lot of things happened, but you know, I took a chance and I liked it.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of my friends were like, what are you doing? How do you leave New York City Ballet?
Right, right.
And I was just like, I just have to.
You had to go. Yeah, so, you know, so then you found your way to Dancer of Harlem, and, you know, you were, I don't know if you came in as a principal, what?
No, I came in as a soloist.
You came in as a soloist, okay. Mm-hmm. And so you eventually, you know, rose to the rank of principal. You know, what were some of the challenges, I guess, of being a principal, you know, that came with that position, right? Because being a principal dancer, you're at the top. So
oh my God. First of all, Mr. Mitchell had to groom me. Right. He had to groom me. Right. It was like the grooming, 101, Arthur Mitchell grooming, to make me what he envisioned me to be.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was very, very hard. I mean, man, oh man, he caused me to cry so many times.
Yeah.
But he wanted me to be the best that I could be. And he felt that when I left City Ballet, I wasn't living up to who I was. And I wasn't. I was broken. I was. And he was right. Sometimes I didn't like how he delivered it, but he was right. So there was a time that I just felt like I couldn't do anything right by him. You know, I had to change my point. I mean, I must have changed point shoes. In 1 month, I changed 12 times.
Wow.
In 1 month, because he was like, oh, I don't like the shoe. Miss, change the makeup. I don't like the makeup. I mean, like, oh my God, it was like to go from not having any attention on you at all to all of a sudden all eyes on you.
Right.
It was like, whoa.
Yeah, that's really, it seems like it's maybe a little psychologically like, whew.
And me also not knowing if I could do it.
Right.
You know?
Doubt that you have, especially if you're in a bigger company where, you know, you felt like you might be invisible, so you're questioning your capabilities. Like, can I really do? Right. I really do that? You know, were there any particular roles that you really enjoyed dancing at Dancer of Harlem that, you know, really stood out during your time there?
Oh my God. I got to dance things I've always dreamt of dancing. I did the lead in Allegro Brilliant. I did 4 Temperaments, Choleric. I did both principal girls in Concerto Barocco. I even did Corsair, classical pas de deux. There were so many Serenade, so many beautiful ballets I got to do. But the one ballet that always challenged me because I had to do something else. I couldn't just be, you know, make a pretty line or, you know, point your feet. It was Firebird because it was technical and it was also dramatic. And I came from the world of City Ballet where I didn't have to know how to own the stage like that.
Right.
So that was, oh my God, so challenging. But it's a part that really made me grow. And there were so many iconic ballerinas that did that role. So imagine me not sure if I could pull it off, living up to like a Stephanie Dabney, who actually coached me.
Right.
And she was the iconic Firebird. So I put a lot of unnecessary pressure on myself about the role, but I really did love it. Wow. Especially the Versus, the end. That's my favorite part. Yeah. I love that ballad. Yeah.
It's a classic. Mr. Mitchell. So I want to ask you, you know, what was some of, you know, what would you say some of the best advice that you received from Arthur Mitchell from your time, you know, there or even after? You know, what was some of the best advice you think you received from him?
we, you know, he was a brilliant man, okay? But he was complicated. Complex, that's the word, complex. Mr. Mitchell, he challenged me, and he would say to me, don't be what they expect of you. Be who you want to be. Be who you were supposed to be. That was one thing he always would tell me. It's like, be who you are supposed to be. You're not living up to it. Like, he raised the bar and he would say, Andrea, step up to this bar right now. Yeah. And sometimes I did and sometimes I didn't. Yeah. So our relationship, I loved him dearly, but sometimes I was just like, oh my God, he's driving me crazy. Yeah. But I think that was the best advice he ever gave me, was to step up. Step into your greatness.
Wow, yeah, that was Arthur Mitchell. Yeah, he had many words for many people.
I know a lot of people are like, I know a lot of people couldn't deal with him. Like, yeah, he had a larger than life personality, larger than life. So, and a lot of people couldn't handle how he would come at you.
Right, yeah. They're understanding. So now that you are a dance educator and that you're working with lots of young dancers and young pre-professional dancers, do you see his influence in your teaching and the way that you communicate with your students, or would you say no?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I want to take the good stuff that I loved about him, the other stuff we want to leave to the side. But I do like to raise the bar. I do like to push them. Like, okay, let's see, let's make that better. How better can we make that turn? Let's point our feet more. I'm constantly demanding them to step up, and that is Mr. Mitchell. I know that's from him.
Right.
Yeah,
and,
I know.
And you did mention earlier in our conversation, the impact that Lupe Serrano had on you. Can you talk a little bit more about not just her, but even just all of your teachers and just the impact that they had on your life? Because I'm always talking to our students, and sometimes they're not always responding or they're not always listening to the things that I tell them, and just wanting them to just kind of understand the importance that have these mentors, or you have a teacher here who's giving you information, and to really appreciate it. Sometimes it's not always, I don't feel like the kids are always appreciative, but they're young, they're teenagers. Teenagers are in their own world sometimes. So, I don't know if you could talk briefly about that, influence.
Well, sometimes with your students, I feel you have to wait for it to click. Sometimes you're going to be saying the same thing over and over, but it will click. And Lupe was that teacher for me. Mm-hmm. The things I could do in front of that woman was unbelievable because she believed in me. Mm-hmm. She would challenge me. She would say, I want you to do this. You're going to do it.
Right.
And who was I to disappoint her? That's how I felt. I think we have to raise the bar for our students, but encourage them. Okay. If they're doing better, you have to tell them. If they're not living up to it, we have to tell them, no, you're not stepping up. And Lupe was like that with me. Mitchell was like that with me. I mean, every teacher I ever had was like that. Barbara Sananato, she was like that with me. Barbara Weisberger, I could go on. Yeah. But you've got to know when to push.
Right.
You can't let them sit there.
Yeah.
Because the great Marcia DeWeary, who believed in pushing young dancers. I mean, she had these she made prodigies at 10. Ashley Bauer was her prodigy. Yeah. Okay? Look at Ashley. Okay? She would just push them. They didn't know any better. Right. I mean, there's stories about the things that, Ashley Bauer and Abby Stafford were doing at CP1B when they were kids. Like 6 pirouettes on point at 10 and 12. Because she didn't think that you didn't treat your students as if they couldn't do it.
Yes.
You just didn't let them know that it wasn't possible.
Right.
You just said do it. And that's how Lupe was with me.
Yeah.
Like, do it. There was no fear factor. Do it.
The greatness. She could see what was
Yeah.
inside of you, and it's fascinating. It's like sometimes people can see what's inside of us that we, of course, we can't even see it sometimes. So that's so powerful that you said that. I wanna ask you though. Um, what would you say have been some of the greatest rewards as of being a dance educator? You know, as a teacher and as a teacher coach. What have been some of the greatest rewards of you know being in that platform?
When I see a student live up to what they're capable of, when they get their dream, when I see my students turn professional, or whether they dance or not, if they end up being good people, and they go on to school and do something with their lives, I feel proud of them, whether they dance or not. But I do take a joy when I see my students go on and carry on and get into a company and dance, but it just gives me so much joy. Or when I'm in the studio with someone and I'm like, don't be afraid, you can do this, and they do it. I'm like, don't be afraid, you have the technique, you can do it. It makes me so happy to see them succeed.
Yeah, I hear that.
I always want the best for my students.
Beautiful. I know through a short period of time you had experienced a major injury. What do to help yourself back in preparation for the stage, and what did you do mentally, right, and emotionally to help keep yourself grounded so that you wouldn't veer off into that negative, dark, deep space? What can happen, for so many young dancers, and or not even just young, but dancers professionally too. What did you do? Because so many of our kids right now, as we're all going through this horrible time, many of them following in depression, and so it's like I'm trying to always talk to them and encourage them and keep them motivated just about life, right? Because many of them are just feeling so down right now. What would
Yeah.
what did you felt during that time of injury?
So I tore my ACL, which is a pretty rough knee injury. And when I did it, it was around the time where, these surgery now, you can go tear your ACL and get back to dancing in 4 months. When I did it, it was a year to 2 months that I wasn't dancing. So I was pretty devastated, and I had to fight. I had to go to physical therapy. I had to go to the gym every day. I was doing gyrotonics, but more importantly is I had to change my mindset. I had to say I was going to get back.
Right.
I would do visualizations. I would write down affirmations, and I would just I had to go inside to find that strength to get back from this injury. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes you just need to quiet down and hear your inner strength come out. But you have to be disciplined. And that injury taught me that discipline and patience and allowing yourself to fail and get back up.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the pandemic is causing a lot of kids to be like, I'm not going to get out of this, but this too shall pass.
Right.
It will pass.
Right.
And take the time now to, if you have a weak core, do your core work. If you have to work on your flexibility. I mean, I did all these things while I was injured so that I could come back. I worked on things even when I was injured.
Amen.
And so this is what you do during the pandemic. If you have to get your core work together, get on the floor and start doing those planks. You need to stretch. There's so many classes online that you can take, but I want them to also work the strongest muscle you have, your brain.
Right.
Get that ready to get back into the studio. Do a vision board of what you want to be.
Yes.
Who you want to be.
Yes.
I mean, you can work your body all you want, but if the mind's not going with it, it's not going to work.
Yep.
So yeah, you want your young dancers to be stretching and pointing their feet and doing their exercise, but the strongest thing you have is your mind.
Yeah. So true.
That's the strongest muscle. Strengthen that.
Yeah, strengthen that. You're right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Andrea, I just want to thank you so much for
Oh,
coming
Lily.
forward and, you know, joining me on this third episode of our HSA at Home Master Series. I was inspired. You said some really, really beautiful things.
Thank
I
you.
hope that people don't, were moved by, you know, her honesty and her transparency. She's worked with so many young dancers, and she is just an inspiration. I'm just so grateful for the work that you continue to do. I've seen the dancers produce, and I remember you performing, and I just remember you like, oh, so amazing. So I mean, like, so yeah. So I just want to let you know you are a part of our HSA family always. Um,
Oh,
Miss Andrea, and I just want to thank you again.
I have to come back. I have to come to New York, come visit you guys.
Well, yes, we'll definitely have you with us teaching and coaching. Um, but thank you again so much, Andrea. I'm really appreciative
Thank you, Leland, for having me.
of honesty. And to our families at home, thank you. Please, if you have kids that want to take a dance class, an acting class, a theater class, we have classes right now online. We have a place for you at HSA. If you are looking to dance this summer, we're going to have online classes this summer. So please stay connected. We're on social media. Visit us on hsa.org. Thank you again, Andrea. It was
You're welcome.
my
Take care, babe.
moved. Thank you, everyone at home, for joining us.
Bye.
It's a pleasure. Later.
Bye, baby.
Thank you.